Hi everyone, it's Martine here. I'm living in Cornwall, have a salon here called Aveda Organic Hair and Beauty, and I'm going to be doing a hair tutorial here with you today. Hope you can hear me all right. This is going to be what we used to call a transient length haircut. So it's a nice haircut, a nice layered haircut for long hair. So if you need to polish up on your skills, then stay tuned everyone. This is my first video, so please bear with me, and I'll improve on the next one. But here we go. So I'm going to start with the length. Now all of this is point cut, and in times like this when we're waiting so long for haircuts, if we were club cutting everything, the hairstyles would lose its shape quicker. So when we point cut a haircut, particularly with longer hair, it has a more lived in feel and it will last longer between appointments. So this technique was originally devised by Toni&Guy, and they did it in the recession in the 90s to allow people a longer appointment time between haircuts to help save them a bit of money. So anyway, this is based on when I was working with those guys and with all my other experience in between, so hope you enjoy. So I'm just gonna tuck this out the way. So all I've done is I've taken a triangular section, quite to about the mid head point. I'm gonna isolate this out of the way. I have prepped the hair with some products because this hair almost feels like it's had heat damage, like the cuticles are swollen. So I've used a little bit of volume spray on the roots and some curly hair serum, along with some nourishing cream, just to help give it a little bit of hold for when I blow dry it as well, and to feed it with some hydration to try and smooth that cuticle out a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, I've just taken about an inch deep section. Now, again, this hair is very fine towards the ends, but I'm going to take a couple of inches off, but I don't want to take it too short in terms of the layering as well, because there's other haircuts that I want to show you after. So we can utilise quite a few haircuts out of this. So I'm going to hold it at one finger's depth, and I'm going to point cut finely. I'm not going to use a very strong texture. Now, when you're point cutting, the more vertical you are, the softer the texture. The more horizontal you are, the chunkier and stronger the texture is. Now, on this haircut, I like it to be very slightly angled. Okay, we're on to our next section now. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because they are textured ends, but you need to see a little bit of a pattern emerging, so it doesn't go too off. And again, check your sectioning. Only when that's right will you take another section. Okay, that looks good. So let's move on to the final section. We're going to be doing pivoting radials. Now, when we hold the hair up to cut it, some of it may drop down under here. that's fine, and that's what we want, because if it didn't drop down, it would mean we're cutting into the length. So we have to make sure that some of this below the occipital is falling away. I could probably do this an easier way, but it's not happening today, so sorry about this, guys. But hopefully you'll get the gist of what I'm trying to do. This is the shape we're going to be aiming for all the way around. So when we finish our sectioning patterns, we're going to have, when we pull it up like this, it's not going to be a straight line. We're going to see a V. Now we want to make sure that V is balanced. So we don't want to be seeing this, we don't want to be seeing that. It needs to be perfectly balanced. If it's not balanced, if this one's gone too flat, you're going to need to go around the other side and pull that one flatter as well. All right, now don't just lob the top off. You're going to have to go through each section again and redo it. Okay. Now I'm going to bring it down just to show you, because my tension is already tight and I've gripped it here. It doesn't matter that I bring it down to cut it, but it's good practice in the salon to try and make sure you cut it where you end when you're combing your section. Now I always like to double check my sections to make sure they're going the way I need them to go. So that one's good. So I'm going to drop down part of that section and I'm going to pick up the back end of it. And I'm going to follow that line. Okay, so we've got a nice line there. Then I'm going to pick up any remaining hair from the bottom and just make sure that I've got everything in. Okay, I'm happy with that section, and that's going to be our guide to work from, so it's really important that we establish that correctly. So what I think I'm going to do first is work on this left hand side. Now I'm going to take half of the section we just cut, and I'm going to comb it across to the other side. Okay, and then I'm gonna, we're pivoting from this point here, so I'm going to take another section to the side of it. So we're always going to have that point in the haircut, and that's important because that establishes our short to long. Now again, quite often people will pick up, they'll miss that corner bit and they'll pick up from down here, and then they don't get that shape and it's not balanced because they've actually cut into the shape. And when we do this, we're using our elbow to help bring us up to our 45 degree. Now if we're working on the other side, we'd be using our fingers and our elbow goes down. Okay, so that's really important to remember. So on the left side, elbow up, on the right side, elbow down. Okay. So I've got the other half of the old section in there, and I'm just going to comb it up to make sure I can see my guide. And I can see my guide through there. Okay, that's the top of my texture, and that's how deep I want to go. So when I go in, I'll go in close to the finger and pull back. Take some more of the section underneath. Now there's not going to be a lot to cut on this doll's head because, you know, the ends are very fine, as I'm saying, and I want to use it for other haircuts as well. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is just cutting this section here. So now I've done that, this is now going to be our stationery guide for everything in front of this section. Everything in front of the corner is going to be over directed back to this exact section. Okay, so I'm just going to show you at the back. So there's our corner. Okay, so this section takes us to the corner, and everything in front of this section is going to be over directed back, no further, but back to exactly where we've just stopped now. So we need to be seeing a straight line up here. Okay, oh, these doll's hairs, they don't half dry quick, do they? Right. I'm very envious of all the other hairdressers on Instagram that have these amazing head blocks, but unfortunately I don't. Okay, so now I think we'll split that section in two to make it a little bit more manageable. Now remember, everything's moved away here. You can clip it away if you want to, and it's a reminder of where you need to come back to. All right, so everything here is going to be over directed back. Okay, that's great. So this is our last section from our original radial section here. And again, there's not a lot of hair in here, but if there was, I'd be turning my comb around, okay? And I will be turning my comb around as soon as we start adding hair in from the front. It's very important to make sure the tension is even. Okay, I'm just going to drop some of that down because there's quite a lot of hair in there. Elbow up, fingers down. Point cut long to short. Okay, I'm going to turn it around now because it's quite dense at the bottom. Go back to where you were stood before. Cut it or just tidy it up, whatever it needs. And double check. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. Okay, so let's re-establish that first section here, that I'm not, that I can see my guideline. Okay, so I can see my guideline through here. So a good way of, you can see there, look, that's the top of it. All right. Now, it's more important on this side to have control of the hair because, I might turn it this way a bit. Just because there's a lot of things that can go wrong on this side with this haircut. And that being this part of your hand, this part of your hand, and your elbow. So a lot of those factors can get in the way. Now, again, this side, remember, fingers up, elbow down. So I like to comb, guide it up, and as I start reaching the top, I like to turn the comb, and there's my guide. Cut to the guide, don't cut into it. Now I'm just going to show you actually what can go wrong, okay? If I hold this whole section and I'm focusing on cutting this part here, a lot of people would do this. Now what's happened is I've pushed that in, you see? And then that makes it baggy, and it pulls your guide down, so it could end up being longer on top of it. So it's really important to take some of that out, make it manageable. And it's a lot easier to follow that through. Okay. So now we're going to repeat. We're going to remove part of that section and comb it across, out of the way. We're going to take another section. Remember to keep using your mirrors, okay? Now I've turned this to the side so that you can see a different angle. So I'm hoping that mine is pretty straight, all right? Again, elbow down, fingers up. Take your next piece. Okay, that bit's done. Again, this corner I'm going to be doing in 2 sections. Making sure you're standing behind it. Great. Now again, remember, because we're on that corner now, everything else gets over-directed back to the previous section. The more you do this haircut, practice it at the same angle every time, all right? Because then you'll get a muscle memory, and your hands and your elbows will automatically go where you want them to go. Once you've got the muscle memory for that bit, then you can change your angles and learn it the other way. I've been doing it a long time, so I could do all that in one section, but I am going to just break it down for you. So we're going to be doing diagonal back sections, okay? So we take part of that front section. I'm going to turn it around so you can see. The corner is all sectioned off, so we don't want to be touching any of that hair. Now, this is where you can see it gets hard to manage because all of this is going to be up here at some point. Okay, you need to make sure you're standing exactly where you were, behind that section, and over direct everything. Keep combing to make sure the direction is going where you want it to go. Alright, so let's chop that down. Wide tooth of the comb. Make sure you can see your guideline through it. There isn't actually much to be cut on this bit. It's drying so quickly, guys. Okay, now we take another diagonal back section and we incorporate that into the hair we've already cut. Again, it's really important to comb directly from the root at the front, get rid of any bubbles, keep it nice and clean. Break it down. Break it down into 3, it's going to be easier. Okay, and then our final section. Some people have really thick hair, so sometimes it is very difficult to manage the hair. So it's probably an advanced version of a standard long hair layer. Slightly advanced anyway. Feel that drying in my hands. So stand exactly where you were before, elbow down, fingers up, and cut. Brilliant. Okay, that's that side of the layering done. So here's the section we already cut before. We're taking a diagonal back as part of that section in front of it, and then comb right from the root to make sure all the little knobbly bits are out. Split that in 2, and this side, remember, elbow up, fingers down. Okay. The hair seems to be a bit denser on this side for some reason. stand behind. And follow that line from long to short. I'm just going to keep taking diagonal back sections until we've got all of that front side done. If someone does have a side parting, then you will have it denser on one side, so just bear that in mind, okay? So maybe practice with centre partings to begin with until you've mastered it, and then move to a side parting, because you might end up panicking if you get to the side and there's just too much hair there and you don't know what to do with it. You can see my guideline nice and clearly on this side. Okay. We're just going to check for balance. So grab a piece from each side, pull it towards you. And I should drop around the same thing, okay? Now this isn't a club cut, so it's not going to be exactly even because we have got texture in there, so just remember that, okay? Now we're going to take horizontal section, across the top of the head, and this is for our cross check. So about our V in here, okay? It's quite difficult to show you. That's part of the other side, but that's one side. And there's the other, okay? I'm going to be doing the forward graduation now. This part of the haircut, we're going to be very softly layering the front, quite distressed, nothing sharp and strong. So we're going to be using a sliding technique. So we're using part of our scissors and we're just gently sliding down, gently closing as we go. Okay, first of all, we're going to establish how short our client wants her shortest piece to be, not including the fringe, okay? So let's say she wants it from about here, all right, in between the jawline, halfway between the jawline and where the clavicle would be. That's what we're going to base as our guideline, all right? So we're going to be taking again, depending on the density of the hair, if the hair's fine and you can manage it, about a 2-inch section. On people with really thick hair, it might drop down to a 1-inch section. So just make sure you've got that corner in as well, okay? Now what I would do is just marry that up on the other side as well. If you're somebody that really struggles with balance, then, you know, just do this with every haircut that you do. And I promise you, it will be so much better. Okay. So the head slightly up. Now we're going to be combing T to the parting, which, if you don't know what that is, when we have a diagonal back parting, we're not going to be combing straight out parallel to that parting. We're going to be taking it down like this. All right, so here's your T, and that would be the line. All right, so instead of bringing it straight out, we're going to actually be bringing it down. That just allows for a softer result. Now what you can do, okay, she wanted it to be about here. So when we judge it, this is what we're going to do. We're going to comb it to where we want it to be. Yeah, happy with that. Now, think about the angle that you want to create. All right, so we're heading back towards this corner. So we want to create an angle like this, but quite a soft one. So point your scissors in that direction. I'll keep it moving and keep working down the hair. Okay. Grab your next piece where you finished off here. Going to be following that line down. Okay, and that gives us our shape. All right. Now we're just going to keep adding in from our previous section. That'll be our last section there. Okay, again, so guys, just damp it down, wide tooth of the comb, and just repeat that, okay? You can see where you went before. Doesn't matter if you keep going over it, so long as you don't keep cutting into your actual shape. Now, I'm holding this kind of midway. The lower you hold it, the stronger it'll be. If I was to pull it out from up here, it would be a lot more shattered, okay? But I want a little bit of strength there for when I do some colouring and things like that. And also for the second haircut that I'm going to do. When you're happy with that, bring your last section in. And remember, it's all got to be combed exactly the same way. Nothing needs to come off there. Very minimal here. And you could just point cut those last pieces. If it's difficult to slide that last piece, just point cut it. Okay, that bit's done. So now we're just going to do the same on the opposite side. Make sure you're repeating the angle that you did on the other side. Point cut at the bottom. Right, I'm going to dry it now, okay guys?